So a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a subscriber, and that email inspired a live stream that I do every week on my channel here, Tuesday Live. And we basically spent 2 hours talking about what makes an intermediate guitar player. What's the difference between a beginner player and someone who's more advanced and has some more concepts and skills under their belt. Now, that live stream was pretty popular and it spawned a lot of questions and a lot of interest. So what I decided to do was basically take everything we talked about in that live stream and just condense it down into a video. So if you don't have 2 hours to watch the live stream back, good news, you can just watch this. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 12 minutes, 13 minutes. We'll see if I'm right. But this video will help take you from a beginner player to an intermediate or even an advanced player. These are the things that you need to know to go from beginner to intermediate and advanced on guitar. Now, before we jump in, a couple of quick plugs. One, my Tuesday live stream happens every Tuesday here on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe down below. And two, we just launched the brand new Inner Circle 2.0. This is my community for people that want to support the channel, who want some extra content, some behind the scenes footage, as well as our monthly Zoom live hangs. We've been working really hard for the last couple of months to launch the new Circle platform, and it's finally up. So if you want more information, you can check that out in the description box down below. It's $10 a month. You get access to behind the scenes content, the Circle community, as well as early access to my new video course that we're currently working on right now, the Fretboard Fundamentals rhythm guitar course. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in and take a look at what it takes to go from beginner to intermediate and advanced on guitar. Now, one of the most important things that any guitarist of any skill level needs to know is some notes on the fretboard. Now, eventually you want to get to the place where you know most, if not all, of your notes on the fretboard and you can find them and name them quickly. But as a beginner moving to an intermediate, I don't think it's all that necessary, except for the 6th string E and the 5th string A. If you can learn the notes on those two strings, then it makes everything else that we're going to talk about today easier. So the way I recommend learning this is breaking it down. Start with one string in one section of the neck at a time. Now, if you don't know the note names, you can look up a chart online to help you memorize them. But what I like to do, and what I used to tell my students when I was teaching lessons back in the day, is don't just look at the string and think about the note while you play it. Actually say it out loud. It might sound a little dumb at first, but I promise it's going to help you learn these notes faster. So what I'm going to do is just start with my low E string, my 6th string here, and I'm going to play up to the 4th fret, and I'm just going to name the notes out loud. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. And start by just working on that. If that's a little too confusing for you, going chromatically or going one note at a time up the neck, then just do the natural notes, E, F, G, right? And then you can add your accidentals or your sharps and flats in between. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp. Then do that for the A string, starting with natural notes, A, B, C, and then add your accidentals, A sharp, B, C, C sharp. And once you get familiar with that first cell, then move up to the next 4 fret cell, all the way up to the 12th fret. Once you get to the 12th fret here, it starts over. It's really simple. But if you can learn these notes, specifically on your 6th string and your 5th string, then you can start to play chords with some of the simple chord shapes we're going to talk about next, anywhere on the neck. And that is huge for helping you break out of just the open position cowboy chords that so many beginner players are stuck playing. Now, speaking of, the next thing to focus on are chords. This is arguably one of the most important things that I think any guitar player can understand. And it starts with just a few simple chord shapes and understanding one concept about chords, and that is the triad. Now, a triad is just any chord that has 3 notes. So if I take the C major chord right here, even though I'm playing 5 strings, there's only 3 notes in that chord. I have C, E, and G. And then down here it just repeats again. I have C and E. Now, those notes are coming from the major scale of that chord, C major. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So when I take the first note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note from that chord's major scale and I play them together, I get that major triad. And it works anywhere on the neck. Any combination of C, E, and G is going to give me a C major chord. So here's C, here's a C, here's a C, here's a C, here's a C, So those are major triads, but the same thing happens with minor chords, with minor triads. So if we take a look at this A minor right here, much like my C major chord I just covered, that's made of 3 notes from the A major scale, right? But because this is a minor chord, there's one thing that's changing. Instead of the root, the major third, and the 5th, I have to make the chord minor by taking the 3rd note of that scale and dropping it down to a flat 3. So in this chord shape, if I play A major, my major 3rd is right there, C sharp, and I need to take that and drop it down a half step to C to get A minor. So those are major and minor triads. Now, if you take that knowledge and we start to apply it to the neck, you'll see what happens. Let's start with a G major and a G minor chord. So I can play G major here, but I can also play it here with my bar chord. And bar chords are really important to know. If you don't know your bar chords, you should look up some simple bar chord shapes from the 6th string root and the 5th string root to help you get going and moving you up the neck. Now this shape right here is a major shape. I have root, 5th, root, major, 3rd. To make this chord minor, I have to take this note B, the major 3rd, and drop it down to B flat, the minor 3rd, and now I have... Now, let's say I wanted to play a B flat minor chord. Well, you may not know where that chord is down here in the open position, but if I take what we talked about in the first section, where my notes are, I know that B flat is here on the 6th string, and then I know how to play a minor chord because we just went over it. And now you can immediately start to play chords that are out of that open position. The same thing can happen on the 5th string. Let's say an E major chord up here where my E is on the 7th fret 5th string. And then I can play the major chord right here. Now you might notice that this chord shape looks a lot like this chord shape, A major, and that's because it is the same shape. It's the same voicing of chord on the guitar. I've just moved my root note A from the open 5th string up to E, 5th string 7th fret, and I play that chord. Now these triad shapes come from what's called the caged system, C-A-G-E-D. And essentially what that means is you're taking these simple chord shapes like your C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, and D shape, and moving their root notes around to different parts of the neck to play different chords. For instance, this bar chord that we just looked at, this G major, that's the E shape from the caged system. If you notice, this right here looks a lot like that right there. Now, there's a lot more to learn about the cage system, and it's a little too in-depth to go into in just this video alone. It's part of my Fretboard Fundamentals video course and my rhythm guitar video course that I have coming out. Or you can look up different resources online to learn about the cage system. But I think learning the cage system is a really great way of breaking you out of that open position. Now, the next thing to talk about is some technique. Now, I myself am not what I would consider to be a great technician. There are millions of guitar players out there that are faster than me, that play more accurately than me, but there are a few techniques that I've got down from years and years of practice that I use every single day that I think are important for every guitarist out there. And the first one is alternate picking. This is something that you're going to use all the time as a guitar player, no matter what style you play. And this is a really great place to start to develop your time feel, or being able to play in time with a click track or with a drummer. Now, if you're not familiar, alternate picking is just this. Watch my right hand. It's just down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, it may look simple, but if you're just starting out, alternate picking can be a bit of a challenge. So here's a few things to think about when you're practicing. First off is getting your pick in the right position. I like to have the pick completely flat against the string, and you want to concentrate on getting a nice pop off the string on your downstroke and getting the same energy, the same sound on your upstroke. Having a consistent alternate picking is really, really important. To start practicing this, just pick one note on any string and start slow. Just down, up, down, up, down, up. And try it on different strings, because as you move up and down the string set, your hand is going to be in a slightly different position. So down here on the second string, down, up, down, up. Again, you're looking for consistency here. Then start to throw in some exercises. I really like this one, where I go first finger, third finger, second finger, fourth finger. Once you get comfortable there, start moving to the next string. And this is where your metronome should come in. If you're not practicing this kind of stuff with a metronome, you absolutely should be, because you need to be able to play in time. So start slow and work your way up. So right here, I've got 66 BPM on the metronome, and I'm gonna start there with just quarter notes. Then, once you can play that confidently with no mistakes, move up to eighth notes. And if you can go faster, go to 16th notes. And then slowly start to speed up your tempo. The metronome is an incredibly useful tool because it can actually help you keep track of your progress. Let's say when you start off, you can only play eighth notes at 66 BPM, but if you practice for a week or two, you'll notice that, oh, now I can play eighth notes at 75 BPM or maybe even 80 BPM. It's a really great way to mark your progress. Now, two other techniques that I think are important for intermediate players is bending and vibrato. Now, if you're not used to bending, it can be pretty difficult, and you can start to bend notes out of tune, where you're a little flat, or you're a little sharp, you're a little overbent. So to practice your bending, do this. Pick a string and pick a note that you want to bend to. So for instance, I'm going to start here on D, and I'm going to go up a whole step to E. So I'm going to fret the note first, and then I'm going to bend. And I'm listening for that intonation. I want to make sure the note's in tune. And start slow. And start to practice this on all different strings and different fingers. So on the second string with your fourth finger. As a guitar player, bending is one technique you're going to use all the time, as is vibrato. Having a good vibrato is really, I think, what separates a lot of intermediate guitar players to advanced guitar players. What I look for in a vibrato is something that's very vocal. It's smooth, it's got a nice feel to it. It's not too much, it's not too fast. It's not what I like to call like a nervous vibrato, this kind of thing. We don't want our vibratos to sound like that. Instead, we want them to sound like... What you should be listening for is a nice, smooth, and consistent bend. You want the speed of the vibrato to stay about the same and the amount of pitch change to stay about the same. So I can go slow, or I can speed it up. And much like your bends, you should practice your vibratos on different fingers. Be able to vibrato on your first and second, as well as your third and fourth. And last but certainly not least, and arguably the most important point in this whole video, is figure out how you like to practice best. And whatever it is, as long as it gets you playing guitar every day, is perfectly fine. For me, I don't really practice well when it comes to developing a routine. I've never been one to have a practice schedule. I don't like the idea of sitting down and working on the same thing every single day. And as a result, there are certain parts of my playing that have suffered because of that. As I said earlier, I'm not a great technician. I'm not super fast or super accurate. But I found out pretty early on that the way I like to practice is through songs. I love learning songs, and I love being able to play along with music, because that's what guitar is for me. It's a tool to be able to make music with. But whatever your practice style is, whether it's super regimented or it's more loose, as long as you have your guitar in your hands every single day, you are going to advance, and you're going to advance quickly. So with that in mind, here's some things that I like to focus on when I'm practicing. One is learning songs, learning chord progressions. I like to play music with other people, and that's sort of what I've geared myself towards over the last 10 years of my career. And if you're a beginner, you can do this by learning the simple parts, learn solos, learn lead parts. Focus in on some of your favorite musicians, your favorite bands, your favorite players, and learn how they play on top of songs. Another thing all of us should be doing, no matter your practice style, is recording your practice. This will do wonders for you in telling you exactly what you need to focus on. When you're actually playing guitar, you're listening to yourself, but you're not listening super critically because you're focusing on playing your instrument. But if you take your smartphone out, you set it up on the voice memo app, and you record what you're practicing, then set your guitar down and listen back, it's going to show all of the warts in your playing, which is a really good thing because it's going to tell you exactly what you need to focus on. If you're learning a song or you're transcribing a solo or you're working on a picking exercise, you know what it should sound like, and then you can listen and hear what's wrong with it. Maybe I'm a little bit out of time, or maybe my bend was a little flat, or maybe my tone isn't quite right. All of these things, the voice memo app or your recording system will tell you when you listen back. This is honestly one of the most important things that you can do for your playing of any level, whether you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Record your practice. And last, do what makes you happy. Guitar is fun. Music is fun. This is why we do this. Guitar is a difficult instrument. It takes years and years and years to master. I've been playing for almost 20 years at this point, and I'm definitely not a master. And I will play guitar for the rest of my life, and I will never, ever learn everything there is to know on guitar. And I may never master it, but therein lies sort of the beauty of the instrument. It's something you can pick up every single day and improve on something, or learn something new, or express yourself in a different way. So the best way to go from a beginner to an intermediate player is do what makes you happy. What is fun to play? Find what you like and do that. If it's learning simple songs and writing simple parts on top of them, great. If it's learning to play as fast and as accurately and as intensely as you can, great. It doesn't matter. As long as you're playing your guitar every day or as often as you can, you're going to get better at it and you're going to enjoy it. So those are my tips for going from a beginner to an intermediate player. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. What tips do you have for the beginners out there, or what helped you go from beginner to intermediate? Also, don't forget to check out the Inner Circle linked down below, as well as my other video courses. And this video is going up on a Monday, so if you're around tomorrow on Tuesday, be sure to check in for Tuesday Live and subscribe so you can be notified when we're going live and posting new videos here every week. My name is Rhett Shull. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, there is no plan B.